You haven't got my feet in, I hope.
No.
Well, cut off. Okay, Dave, when you're ready.
It was
Just one of those things.
when you found out
Yes,
you were number one.
it was a shock. I thought, oh, 70 years ago, the same song was number one. And little did I think that I would even still be around, let alone have a number one hit.
You weren't expecting that.
Not at all, no. And I'm just, probably it's the connection with our boys being overseas again. And it's an appropriate song, you know, so out it came again.
And now another album coming out.
Yes, well, primarily all the, you know, they've found some unreleased titles that they probably didn't think were good enough for the first time round, but they've been listening to them and thought they'd be nice for people to hear.
Now, you recorded dozens and dozens of songs over the years, haven't you? I mean, 1930s you started.
1935, I did my first record with Joe Loss, and I sang with him for a while, and then had a chance to go to with Charlie Coons at the Kasane Club in Regent Street, which is no more now. And from there on to Ambrose, and I was with him for about 3.5 years.
And there was Crown Records as well.
Yes, well, they were the Woolworths records, 6-penny records from Woolworths. One side was a published song and the other side was a non-cop. They didn't have to pay any fees for that, you see. So they always have a library of songs that the writers send in to be recorded, and they don't think they're good enough, so they're just put on file. And when they require a B-side, which is non-published, then out comes one of those songs, and they're very good.
And you sold about 1 million of these records, didn't you, over those?
Well, so they tell me, yes. Which was not bad going, really.
Did it make you a millionaire?
No, it was about a farthing a record or something.
And these songs that have now been released, do you remember recording them?
Well, yes, I do. In the studios, I can see the studio wasn't Abbey Road. That was the other studio in West Hampstead, and I recorded all my songs there at that time.
Yes, I'm trying to remember the name of the. It was those. That was the Decca recording studios, weren't they, in West Hampstead?
Yes.
Yes. Now, the song with Shelton. Do you remember singing that? Because you sound as though you're having fun there.
Yeah, I've been trying to remember the situation when we did it, but I can't remember at all. I don't know whether we did it together or whether it was linked up afterwards, like they have been doing recently with singers. But anyway, it was a novelty.
To hear them again, does it bring back any memories?
Well, yes, I can just imagine the studio, because I did all my recordings in the same studio, so it's a place I wouldn't easily forget, and the situation. So yes, brings back a lot of memories.
I mean, for people who don't know who Anne Shelton was, I mean, you were both singing with Ambrose in those days, weren't you?
Yes, I when I left to go solo on my own, she came along and took over my place as the female singer, and of course she proved very, very popular.
Now, these days of when people make so much money from records, I mean, you were you were putting them out all the time, weren't you? But it was
Oh, yeah.
it was being on the radio that was the most important thing, wasn't it?
Well, it was the radio that got your name and your voice familiar with the people, so that when you recorded, you know, they knew who you were and what you did. Although, of course, some of the first recordings I did with orchestras, it just had on the label vocal refrain. That's why I called my book Vocal Refrain, because I wasn't well known enough to have my name on the label with the band. So, but that's, you know, they used to have just singers to do the vocal on various band recordings, and not necessarily well known.
How do you feel 70 years on that people are taking an interest and are buying the records?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's nostalgia for a lot of people, but for the younger people, it's interesting for them to know the kind of music that we were producing in those days and how the bands played and the singers sang. And of course, now and again there comes an appropriate song that fits a certain situation, and it's perfect because they don't write songs that really fit today.
I mean, they're all very emotional songs that you were singing. It was your speciality.
Yes, they were sentimental. You know, that's one of the things that that Parliament brought up as sloppy, sentimental songs, and they weren't wanted. And anyway, they were proved wrong because of the correspondence and the sale of the record and on the radio, the people used to write in and say how lovely the songs were and how sentimental and what they meant to them.
And even before the war, the BBC was suspicious of crooners, weren't they?
Well, yes, they were. They think they were just below the level of what the BBC usually produced. But, you know, and it was just something different. But they got used to it in the end.
These songs have lasted, haven't they?
They have, yes. And of course, like We'll Meet Again, of course, it's never died, and I don't suppose it ever will, really, because it's a song that speaks so much for people, you know, no matter who you are or where you go. It applies to everybody, you know. Nice to see you, hope we'll meet again, yes.
And how did you come about singing these songs? I mean, how did it work in those days?
How did we get the songs?
Yes.
Well, there was such a thing as music publishers in those days, and the songwriters used to go to these premises in Denmark Street and take their wares and play them, and if the people who were in charge of the printing and the publishing of the songs thought, yes, that's a good song, they would play it to a certain artist whose idea they thought would suit them. And we'd go along and sit and listen to the music, and I was always very careful listening to the lyrics. They were always important to me. And if we liked them, we would put them in our new record or our broadcast that we were doing. And the arranger on the house would come down and make an arrangement how you sang it, and completely different to what it is today. The singers write and arrange their own songs.
Now, how do you know if it's a Vera Lynn song? If you heard it, what would be the thing that would go, that's the song for me?
Well, first of all, I would look at the lyrics. They were very important to me. And if they suited me and I liked them, they were the right sentiment and fitted in with my style, then I'd hear the tune. And if that was nice, nice melody is always important. I'd say, right, I'd like to record that, and an arranger would come down and listen to how I sang it and, you know, get an idea of what I wanted in the accompaniment. he would do the arrangements. We'd go to the studio and he would go along with his music and just sit down, and we would just go through it and make a test record, and like, you know, yes, that's okay, we'll make one.
So, are there any more songs that haven't been found, that you've recorded, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to go through them all, I suppose, if we could find them still. I mean, because we didn't record every song that we liked. It was up to, although I had the first choice, I was always open to suggestions. But naturally, we picked the songs that I liked and everybody liked, and was suited the time.
Do you know how many songs you've recorded?
Not offhand, no, but I've got a book upstairs with all the titles in. I've got pages of them, because there's so many songs that I recorded that really weren't popular, so of course people never heard them very much. So
it's dozens and dozens of songs you recorded?
Oh yes, there's loads of songs that have never been published, you know, or got made popular.
So there may be more after this?
Excuse me a minute, my daughter's waving to me drastically.
Oh, fine, that's fine, that's fine.
What?
And
What do you want
I
to
don't think there's any more
There
up
aren't
there to
any
be
more,
found,
darling.
What?
because there are no more to be found up there, that's for sure.
Oh.
No more records.
Oh, well, there's no more.
No,
Oh,
no,
right.
no, I've gone through it with a
Right.
fine-tooth comb.
That's fine.
I wonder what all the gesturing was about.
I realised there was noises off going on here.
David, I
Backstage.
presume you'll bring Andrew into the
Oh yeah, absolutely,
conversation
yes.
at
But
some point, so
we're
you
going
can
to
go,
set it up separately, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks for one.
Start again.
Not at all. And you're okay, Dave?
Yep.
And do you remember, I mean, Summertime, do you remember recording that?
Yes, I do, yes. And I loved recording it because it was a beautiful song, a little different to what the pop songs that I had been used to singing. And no, I enjoyed singing that very much.
And is there a type of music that you wished you had sung and recorded that you never did get around to? Because you had all sorts of different styles. You
Well,
did some country and western and all sorts of
Yes,
things.
I went to Nashville. I've liked the country style, and when I asked the recording company, could I do some recording with some, they said, well, you'll have to go to Nashville to do it. I said, oh dear, what a shame. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience, completely different, very relaxed. And I would sort of do the song with just a simple backing, and I was completely free to do it how I liked and relaxed. Nobody around, no big band in the studio to distract you, and it was great fun doing it. And then the group would come in afterwards and put the backing to it.
I see.
Yes.
Were you ever tempted to do rock and roll?
No, not my style.